Yo, what's good, bro?
What's up? What's up? What's up, man? How you doing? How you doing?
This week, I'm doing well, bro. So, we're gonna, so this episode is along the lines of the championship drought videos that we did, but it's not. So, basically, this video is, and I don't think I've seen anybody do a video on this. This is best first time champion. So we're gonna do our usual top 10, and it's gonna be top 10 teams that have won their first championship. So basically all through four leagues. So, there's a little bit confusion, just real quick. There's a little bit of confusion between the NFL, MLB, because there was a pre-championship, pre-World Series, pre-Super
Mhm,
Bowl.
mhm,
But if the league didn't count that as an official championship, then it doesn't count. And then there's also the Super Bowls, and like with NFL, there's a Super Bowl, right? So there's like the Detroit Lions have never won a Super Bowl, but they've won NFL championship. So if they were to if they were to win a championship, it wouldn't. If they were to win a Super Bowl, it wouldn't count because they've already won a championship in the past, and same goes for the Eagles, right? But overall, it's just the franchise is the best run for a franchise who won their first, if that makes sense. So before we get started, do you have any honorable mentions? Because this was a very tough list to do. Very tough list.
Yeah, man. I got a few to be honest, man. This might be on your list, this might not be, but if it's okay, can I say a few words, man?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, man. So some of my honorable mentions, Real Madrid, the Champions League back in 1955, 1956. You
Mm.
know, this was their first win, solidifying their status as a football powerhouse. For those who don't know, they were led by legendary players like Alfredo Di Stefano and Francisco Gento. So, at that point in time, they were showing dominance within that league. You know, with a record numbers in the champion league title, man. So like that's one. Um another team, man. You might have this on your list. I said the Green Bay Packers, Super Bowl 1966. The Green Bay Packers won their first Super Bowl in 1966, led by, the one and only coach Vince Lombardi and quarterback Bart Starr. The victory led to although we see the Packers in today's time, with Aaron Rodgers, even though he's not on there, but that was a very pivotal moment for the Green Bay Packers. I'm just gonna name the next few teams with not a lot of explanation. The Chicago Blackhawks back in 1927, 1928. Uh, Arsenal 1997, 1998, and my personal favorite, Los Angeles Lakers, 1949. And sadly and shockingly, just so they're on there. So, I don't want no Canadians coming to my front door. Toronto Raptors, NBA 2019. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yo, they were on my honorable mentions, but when I look at my list,
Oh, sorry. One more. Sorry.
oh
I'm
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
The Seattle Sounders FC MLS Cup 2016. Sorry, that's the most recent one I have. Sorry, continue, man. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
So with me, I had a couple. I had the 91 Bulls on my list. Or as far as honorable mentions goes, I had originally on my original list, I had the Washington Capitals from 2018. I thought about putting the Detroit Pistons from 89, and then yeah, that's what I can think of. That's about it. But yeah, man, without further ado, man, let's start this list off, bro. So
Of course, bro.
who should go first? You or I?
Honestly, man, I don't mind starting. I don't mind starting. You know what I mean? So like, so up on my list, I got DC United MLS. 1996. So DC United claimed their first MLS Cup in 1996, setting the standard for success in Major League Soccer. You know, they were the pioneers of American soccer. DC United early triumphs contributed to the growth of the sport in the United States, paving the way for the development of vibrant and competitive professional soccer leagues. So this is like I don't know if you watch a lot of soccer, man, but like I'm not even a huge soccer fan myself, but I thought, in my personal opinion, this was a pivotal moment, especially for this league, especially in an American soccer league. This was huge because Europeans they dominate in a soccer league, but for the states, for the American soccer league to have this team come up on top, man, it paved the way for sure, man. It paved the way for sure, man. So yeah, that was my number 10.
Okay, my number 10, I'm going to start off with a good one. The Portland Trailblazers, 1977. So the Portland Trailblazers, along with the Cleveland Cavaliers, came into the league in 1970, but their first 6 seasons, nothing to write home about. Never made the playoffs. But
Mm-hmm.
the right spot was Luke Walton. Luke Walton is one of the most decorated college players ever. 88 wins. He was a part of the US UCLA Bruins, who won 88 consecutive games, which among North American sports, even to the collegiate level, professional level, that's a record. A record never been broken. 88 games, incredible. And then he won them 2 national championships, right? Got drafted. I think he was the first overall pick in the 1974 draft. But his first 2 seasons, not like they were pretty good. 14 points, 13 rebounds, 2.5 blocks, but he was injury prone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they turned it around 1977. They started off their first 33 games going 23-10. Luke Walton played more games, 85 games. Or no, he played 65 games, where in his first 2 seasons combined, he played 85 seasons, which is 4 more games than the full NBA regular season. So not a lot of productivity, but he did play 65 games, so that's pretty good. But they slowed down, but they went 49-33, which was the second or third best record in the West, right? So they had great players, Lionel Hollins, who became an NBA coach, Bob Gross,
100%. Yeah.
Johnny Davis, uh,
Okay.
and what's his name? An enforcer, but he was actually the leading scorer, Maurice Lucas, rest in peace. So
Rest in peace. Yo, was he considered a Hall of Famer or no?
no, I don't think he was a Hall of Famer. I know who you're thinking of. I know who you're thinking of. There was an award named Maurice Stokes.
Maurice Stokes. Yes.
That's who
Okay.
may
Okay.
come to
Thanks, man.
mind.
Thanks. Yeah. My bad.
Maurice
Yeah.
Stokes. Yeah, because it's similar, right? So they start off with the second best record in the Western Conference. They would beat the Chicago Bulls, Denver Nuggets, and the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals to make it to the finals and go up against the 76ers, who were led by Dr. J. First season in the league, right? And basically what happened was they were down 2-0, the Trailblazers, and then they came back 0-2 to win the series and to win their first ever NBA championship. And something interesting, that was the first time the Larry O'Brien Award was introduced. So the award that is giving up to the champions each year at the podium, that was the first time that award was introduced. So that's my number 10 list. And I find it even more interesting that in their first ever time in the postseason, they won an NBA championship. So that's my number 10. What's your number 9?
Now this might shock you, man, and this actually goes beyond, I would say, the major league sports like the baseball, MLB, the NFL, the NHL, the NBA. Now, Giuseppe Farina. Now, do you know who he is?
I'm gonna take a guess. He's either a tennis player, a golfer, but it's an individual sport. That's what I'm gonna say.
So Giuseppe was actually driving the Alfa Romeo who won the inaugural Formula One World Championships in the 1950s.
Okay, okay.
So now this is a complete plot twist for sure. I know you weren't expecting that, but his victory marked the beginning of Formula One as the pinnacle of motorsport, captivating the audience worldwide with a blend of speed, skill, and technology. The that championship laid the groundwork for the evolution of Formula One into a global phenomenon, right? So this was his victory was the start of what you see millions of people cherish within North America. So he's my number 9.
He's your number 9. Okay. So my number 9 are the '01 Patriots. '01 Patriots, they started off in the AFL, pre AFL NFL merger.
Okay.
So they went their first ever league championship appearance was in 1963. They lost to the Chargers, but then never made another playoff appearance till they were 6 years into being in the NFL, where they went up against the Oakland Raiders and lost to the Oakland Raiders, and which was one of the greatest teams in football history. There's a controversial call behind that play. So there's that, and then they had a runs like in 85, 86. They finally made it to the Super Bowl. I think that was the year that they finally won their first postseason game, including beating the Dolphins in the Orange Bowl, which they had never done. So they beat them to go to the Super Bowl, but they got smashed by the Bears. 11 years later, they go back to the Super Bowl, get smashed by the Packers. But in 2000, that was the start of their turnaround, and that was the start of them being the franchise that we know of today, the dynasty. They get Bill Belichick. They hire him as the head coach. Draft Tom Brady. First season, and then in 2005 and 11, then they were 0-2, right? Drew Bledsoe, he was their starting quarterback. We all know of the hit that happened to him when he got hit by Mo Lewis on the sideline, or coming off running out of the pocket. Tom Brady replaces him. He never looks back. Then afterwards, they win 11 of their next 14 games, go to the playoffs, beat the Raiders in another controversial call. That's for getting them back for what happened back in 76, right? The Tuck rule. Then they go to Pittsburgh. Drew Bledsoe actually played that game, replacing Tom Brady when he got hurt. Led them to the Super Bowl. Then finally, in their third ever appearance, you know what they say, third time's a charm. They go to the Super Bowl, but then they face the St. Louis Rams. Now, the St. Louis Rams, 2 years prior, had the greatest turnaround in NFL history, won a Super Bowl, and then they established themselves as like one of the best offenses in recent memory, if not the best offense in recent memory. Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, those were the MVPs the last 3 years. Kurt Warner won it in 99, and then he won it that very same year in 01, and then Marshall Faulk won it in 2000. They come and then they contain him with points. They contain Marshall Faulk with 76 rushing yards. And yeah, like Brady played a great game. Obviously, he was in charge of the drive that set up Adam Vinatieri for the 40-some yard field goal. They won it. They won their first Super Bowl. And then they proceeded to win 5 more Super Bowls, proceeded to make it to 8 more Super Bowls afterwards. And yeah, that's my number 9.
Okay. That's interesting. I like that for real. So, we're on number 8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my number 8, man. This might shock some. This might shock no one, but I would say my number 8 is the New Orleans Saints
Oh, good one. Good one.
in '09. Now, I know everybody knows about this. Sean Payton and quarterback Drew Brees, faced the Indianapolis Colts in a highly anticipated matchup at Sun Life Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. You know, I know you know the game, but just to give everyone a breakdown, right? Drew Brees delivered a stellar performance, completing 32 of 39 passes for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Saints had an undeniable offense paired with a strong defense, you know, propelled them to a 31-17 victory over the Colts. Then Triumph not only secured the franchise first Super Bowl, but also served, you want to say the rest? Served as a symbol of hope and resilience for the city of New Orleans, still recovering from
From
the
the
devastation caused by Hurricane Katrina in 2005.
Yep.
You know, this win had a profound impact on the team, the fan base, and the broader community, solidifying the Saints' place in NFL history. You know, they were underdogs. They were underdogs, man. And for people who don't know, I think there was also a documentary, man, about Sean Payton. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that. Like, oh, they've made movies around him, but there was a documentary, man. Great coach, man. Great coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. But that's honestly my number 8, man.
Yeah, it's controversial. That's a like they're a controversial team because of the bounty gate and things of that nature. But like
100%.
outside of that, though, they did like great quarterback, great team, and yeah, my number 8 are the St. Louis Blues 2019. Okay, they're one of two of my 2019 championship winning teams. Okay, so I touched on them in the championship drought video that we did, but I'll expand on them even more. So they were one of the 6 teams that happened in 67 after the original 6 era. So that's when the NHL doubled, which has never been done. No team has doubled in expansion ever. So they did that. Along with them, it was the Minnesota North Stars, who are now the Dallas Stars, the Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers, Los Angeles Kings, and the Golden Seals, who are no longer in the NHL. But St. Louis Blues, they started off incredible. They went to 3 consecutive Stanley Cup final, right? But
Yeah.
lost, got swept in each of them. But
Hmm.
from 67 all the way to 04, they only missed the postseason twice, including a year where they made it to 25 consecutive playoff appearances, man. That's incredible. But things started to dwindle down, and like they can just never get over the hump, right? You go to that many playoff appearances, you have that many playoff appearances, you can't even get over the hump. It's unfortunate, but they were a very consistent franchise, right? But then in 2019, they started off their season 15 and 18. Again, that's 3 games below 500. I in my drought video I said above, but it's below, right? But
Yeah.
then in the calendar year, what's his name? Jordan Bennington, who was the goaltender, he started to emerge. His first start, shutout, right, against the Flyers, and then acquiring Ryan O'Reilly from the Sabres, he was their points leader, right? 77
Yeah.
points. But then in the playoffs, they go up against Winnipeg, they go up against Dallas and San Jose, beat those 3 teams, make it back to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in 49 years, have their rematch against the Boston Bruins from 1970. They still have to avenge them for Bobby Orr's game-winning shot in Game 4, right? Then uh, O'Reilly has one of the all-time great postseasons, but also one of the all-time Stanley Cup Final series where he
Hmm.
4 consecutive games he had a goal. Great. And then Bennington played well. And then in Game 7, they clinch it, they win it, they beat the Bruins 4-1 to win their first ever championship, or to win the Stanley Cup for the first time. And crazy thing is, from that 67, from those 67 expansion teams, they were the last team to win the Stanley Cup. All the 4 other teams who remained in the NHL had won it except for them. And they were tied with the Leafs for the longest active championship drought in the NHL. They broke that, and now they have the third longest, with the Leafs obviously having the longest, the Rangers having the second longest, and now the St. Louis Blues having the third longest with 52 years. And so they're the oldest team to win their first Stanley Cup. So yeah, that's my number 8.
Nice, man. I like that. I like that. I like that. So am I doing number 6?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So we're on number 6, right?
I think I did 8. You did what, 7, right? I think you're on number 7. Because I did.
Yeah, so I'm doing 7. I'm okay. I'm on number 7. So yeah. So my number 7 is the Golden State Warriors. First NBA championship back in the 1974-75 season.
Okay.
You know, under the beautiful guidance of coach, my friend, say the name with me.
What was his name? Is it Al Kittle? Is it Al Kittle?
It's Al. It's Al Adels.
Al Adels, that's his name.
Yes. You know, and then back then, Washington, Washington Wizards wasn't it was Washington Bullets. The Warriors faced the Washington Bullets in the NBA Finals, and a series unfolded as a showcase of stellar individual performances on both sides. On the Warriors side, led by Finals MVP Rick Barry, who averaged an impressive 29.5 points per game. The Warriors displayed an unyielding spirit throughout the postseason. The championship was sealed in Game 4 as the Warriors secured a 96-95 victory, making their first NBA title since relocating to California from Philadelphia. I know you knew that, sir, right?
Yeah. They were in Philadelphia first, then they went to San Francisco, and then they became the Golden State Warriors. A lot of people forget Will Chamberlain played for the Warriors at one point.
Oh, trust me, I didn't forget, man. I didn't forget. Right, that in the 1975 championship laid the foundation for a new era of success for the Warriors, setting a standard of excellence that would further solidify in the years to come. And as you know, the great Golden State Warriors with Steph, Clay, Draymond, we see the level, right? And that first championship is being brought from then to now, man. You see the team that they have now, man.
Yeah.
So it marked the beginning of a legacy that would redefine their place in the NBA.
Yeah, that for a long time, that was the biggest upset in NBA Finals history. So that's a good one.
Yes, sir.
All right. Listen, my number 7, I wanted to put them higher, but with the other teams, I just couldn't, man. But my number 7 is the Pittsburgh Steelers 1974-1975, man.
Ooh.
It's low, man. Dude, it's
Ooh.
low, bro. It's very low. I wanted them to be higher, man.
Listen, continue with this blasphemy.
Do you have spoiler
I
alert?
don't have them on my list.
But let me tell you why I have them on my list.
Go ahead. Let me hear this
So 1970, 1933, they come into the league.
Yeah.
So going into the 70s, which is nearly 50 years of the NFL, they were the worst team. They were the worst franchise in NFL history. They only had one season where they went to the postseason, and that was due to a tiebreaker. And as I mentioned before in my drought video, the Philadelphia Eagles, our Philadelphia Eagles beat them. So they had never even won a playoff game until 1972, which was the first time they had made it to the playoffs postseason in 25 years, right? 25, 26 seasons, right? They do that. That was due to the Immaculate Reception, make it to the AFC Championship game, where they lose to the Dolphins, who are the perfect season winning Dolphins, 72 Dolphins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years later, they overcame some quarterback controversy, but they did it. Like they hired Chuck Noll in 1969. They had Joe Green in 1969, Mel Blount, Terry Bradshaw came in 1970. Jack Ham came in 1971. Franco came in 72. And then in 74, they had the greatest draft class, literally, any franchise has had. Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, Jack Lambert, who is top 5 middle linebackers ever. And then they had Mike Webster. So all of those guys are in the Hall of Fame, right? Then they overcome everything. They beat who did they beat? Who did they beat? I think they beat the Bills. They did beat the Bills. They beat the Bills. They beat the Raiders in Oakland, and then they beat the Vikings to win the Super Bowl. And the reason why I have them on my list is because all that I mentioned, picture a team having only one postseason, maybe having 4 postseasons ever in their first 40 years in the NFL, and then winning the Super Bowl, and then going on to win 3 or 6 5 more Super Bowls, and setting the standard for them being a top 3 franchise in NFL history. They literally turned around their reputation, going from one of the worst franchises to one of the best. Like you can't even fathom that. A lot of people can't even fathom that. Like at one point they were one of the worst franchises in the history of the NFL, but they did that. And with that, until the team that you had, the New Orleans Saints, they were the oldest team to never win nor appear in a championship game. Okay, and they held that record for 35 years. So that's who I have as my number 7, the 74 Steelers.
That's interesting, man. I like that. I like it. Okay. I ain't gonna totally hate on it. But a little blasphemy, but that's fine. But let's go back to some real teams, please. Number 6, sir. People will know this team. People would understand the legendariness behind the history of this team. Although they are hated by most and loved by some, they are known as none other than the New York Yankees. Now, people need to understand, man, what makes the Yankees unbelievably hated by most teams is because of the talent that they bring. Their first World Series win in 1923. Ooh, listen, man, I know you're not a huge baseball guy, man, but you got to understand, man. The manager, Miller Huggins, man, created a iconic team, man. Like I know you've heard of Babe Ruth, of course, man.
Of course.
So I'm gonna take a few seconds to talk about Babe Ruth and how he truly impacted the team.
Lou
You
Gehrig.
know, pardon?
Lou Gehrig.
Yes, I'll get into him as well. I'll get into all those guys, man. But Babe Ruth, first World Series with the New York Yankees came in 1923, solidifying his place as an iconic marker in the beginning of an unparalleled era of success for the franchise, man. You know, like people don't understand. Do you know what it's like to have not one, not two, but 3 home runs in a game, right? And like I said, it's not all on him. Like you said, you named him, Lou Gehrig, Herb Pennock, contributing to the triumph. But again, man, do you know how hard it is to have 3 home runs? Now, what people don't understand, we're down to game 6 at the Polo Grounds, right? Now, this is where the game is down on the line, right? You know, the tensions are hot, right? And literally, this although we named the 3 guys who were like the crucial part, it was a full-on team effort. Think about the Yankees; they can have 2, 3 All-Stars, but it takes the team entirely to win those championships, right? Because they have good supporting players, man. They were phenomenal. The franchise itself has a history of success because they know how to have all stars and align their all stars with great supporting players, which for some reason the Raptors keep not don't know how to do. So they need to take a book out of the Yankees notebook. Just have to throw some shots out there, man. You know how I go, man. But you know, statistically, man, they were way, way, way more talented coming into game 6, man. Uh, with 3 home runs on one end from just Babe Ruth, a couple of strikeouts, a couple of outs, Lou Gehrig, man, making a few hits, causing a few of the players to make a few runs. It was a legendary series, man. Truly showed the dominance against the New York Giants and they weren't expecting that, man. They weren't expecting that, right? And it's all because of the 3 key guys, but it's truly because of Miller, the team manager, right? Which is also something the Raptors need to take a page out of the New York Yankees notebook because they know the definition of winning.
You're
Well,
just
that's my number 6, sir.
all right, all right. So you got them, right? Okay, so because we are running out of time, I'm gonna put one team. Who can I put on here, man? This was a tough list to make. Holy, so a very tough list to make. But I will another team that I will put are the let me put the Nationals on here, the 2019 Nationals on my number 6. So they let go of Bryce Harper in 2018, right? They let go of him.
Ooh, the Nationals. Good choice, sir. Good choice. I
Yeah,
give you that one.
yeah, the Nationals. So they let go of him in 2018, right? I'm not much into baseball, but if I'm wrong, correct me. They let go of him, right? He was like one of the best players, prodigy, one of the best players in the league, right? But then they let go of him. Then they start off their first 50 games 19-31. But with baseball, that's under a third of the season. So if injuries don't slow you down, you could always make a comeback. And that's exactly what they did. They ended up turning it around. They went 19 and 60. They went through 93 and 69, made a great playoff push. Then they got into the playoffs. Then they beat Milwaukee. Then they beat the two-time World Series runner-ups, which were the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then afterwards, in the conference championship game, they beat the Cardinals. They swept them, and that was their first ever World Series appearance. That was their first ever pennant win ever, which is the longest. I think it took them longer than any other team to win their first pennant. So that's why it's impressive. And then they faced the Astros, who won the World Series 2 years prior. They win their first 2 games. The Astros come back, beat them 3 times in a row, and then they go back to Houston and then they beat them 2 times in a row. And that was the first time in North American sports that a team had won all 4 playoff games on the road in a championship or in a series ever. And then they won it. And that was the first time they won their first World Series. And Juan Soto and pitcher Steven Strasburg, they got the World Series MVP. And yeah, that was their very last playoff appearance, actually. But number 6 is the Nationals of Washington back in 2019. So that's my number 6. So tough list, man. Tough list.
Tough list, man. For sure, man.
All right,
Yeah.
it's your number five.
Yeah,
We cut
yeah,
this.
let's stop it there. Let's stop it there.
Yeah, we're gonna cut this and then we're gonna do a part two.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do that.
We'll do a part two and then we'll do a part two and the second one will come out next week. But
Okay, bro.
but yeah, all right, let's stop it there.